It gets like that after all.
It's another work day, but tomorrow's not. So fun times. I can go and try and buy some stools for my bench. It'll be a highlight of my week.
Oh, yes, for your bench. Where are you going to get them? Got any ideas yet? Have you looked around or?
I've done my mandatory 2 hours of online research. Domain Penrith and Oz Design Furniture looks like first stop tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, that makes some nice stuff.
Yeah, some cool stuff. I want something very particular. As much as Shree's designed this whole kitchen and it's perfect, the only input I had was I want good stools at the bench because that's where I'll be living, sitting watching Shree cooking. So that was my prerequisite for good stools.
Yeah, you want to be comfy.
We already had one good fight about it tonight.
Who won? Or don't ask.
No one won. I was being a dick because I was tired and shitty, and she just didn't want to play the game. So I think I actually lost, but I won't tell her that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Not cool.
Donna Bennett's here. Hey, Donna. Kurt, nope, there goes all my messages coming in. I'll let you. You got control of that in tonight, haven't you?
I do. You run that for a second while I trying to get this share running.
Yep. Dave Williams, us, Troy B, in, Brendan
Troy the gangster, eh? Not an Antaresia fan, but look at him, like panting at the bit on the very second the show starts.
Yeah, that's it. Very excited. Oh, well, something different. Hopefully there might be something. One's already popped out of the egg. Just a wild type. I'll show you that in a minute.
What's the cut tonight, mate? Tell us what we got.
T plus marble, cross T plus marble. So no idea what else is coming in. Everything else, I don't know what's going on with my incubators at the moment. I swear to God, I think I've got my -10. There's just nothing seems to want to hatch. Like the clutch of albino Darwins was like, due, I think 3 days ago. All the eggs are all shriveled up and sunken in, but they're just hanging on. They're like, nope, don't want to come out yet. Don't want to come out.
Sucked in ready, but nothing happening.
Yeah, nothing happening. So then these guys were due. When did these guys? These guys were laid on the 11th of the 10th. So that Darwin clutch was the 27th of the 9th. So these guys are like, 14 days later or 13, 14 days later, depending on the month. But yeah. So and they're still there. So I've actually moved them up a couple of shelves in the incubator because I don't have the fans going on in the incubator anymore. Obviously, it's a bit warmer, that extra 1.5 degrees. And so it's probably the difference in variation of temperature is obviously what's caused them to be a little bit longer in hatching out. But that's the way it goes. Not much you can do about that.
What's your top range of incubation? What's your top shelf run at?
Just a bit over 30. It gets up to about 31.8 at like a hot time sort of thing. And then when it switches off, then it drops down to low 31.34 sort of thing. But then down towards the bottom of the incubator, you're hitting just over the 30 degrees. So like 30. I think at one point I saw like a 29.8 or something like that on the digital thermometer.
Completely safe. Yep.
Yeah. So safe range. So normally with the fan, little computer fan that's in there that normally runs, that normally stabilizes like the whole thing at a fairly constant mid 31s. So never bumps. I've never seen it bump to 32. So if I did, I would knock it down a little bit, just enough.
32 is about the most I'm starting to get scared at it. 31 and a half is about where I'm comfortable.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. So you got to, you're obviously trying to incubate them a bit warmer so that they hatch sooner, I guess. But you don't want to push it too hard. Someone messaged me the other day, so the incubator's getting to 33, I think it was. I said, mate, turn your thermostat down. It doesn't matter if the cold end's at 27, but it matters if your hot end's at 30, 33 plus. So just worry about your hot end, get your hot end at, that mid 31s. And make sure it doesn't go past that. If the other end, like I said, if the other end's cooler, like 27, 28 degrees, the difference could be 10, 15, even 20 days hatching time difference.
Yeah.
But they'll still hatch, you're not going to run high risks. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so who else? Dave Mars, Don Bennett, Dominic Spring.
The Muzz. Up the Roosters, indeed. Mr. Muzz. Here, Mr. Muzz. Look at that one, eh? Hey, look at it.
Wow.
The big cock.
What sort of drugs are in that? They're full of peptides.
chocolate milk,
Chocolate
Milo
milk.
or something, yeah, with
Jeez.
some additives.
Yeah. So, and a man, Glenn Thomas, hey Glenn, Matty Traves, Mum, Jan, hey Jan Smith. Just
Hello, Mum.
Michael Ward Grott, hey guys from Mackay.
Mum came to work with me today to enjoy a day of peaceful silence for most of it.
Oh, that's good. Was it quiet as it worked, was it?
Yeah, wet day, wet week. No one wanted to be out shopping for spare parts today.
Mate, not in the shopping centres, I'll tell you that much. Gosh.
No, well, that's where they all go because we're a standalone shop, so we don't get any foot traffic. Certainly on rainy days, everyone's at Harvey Norman and all the big outlets.
Yeah, well, I've got to take my son to guitar lessons in the morning at Rouse Hill Regional Centre, or the shopping centre there. So it's not too bad because you got there a bit early.
Yep.
Then my daughter goes to art class lessons at somewhere else at Castle Hill at like 11:45, and it is just chaos on the roads. Oh, just everywhere. And then my son's work today. He works. What was his shift today? 12 till 3 or something or other at Porto's there at where we have the reptile show, the Stanhope Gardens. So he's working there now. It's just chaos, cars, traffic, can't park anywhere. Yeah, just
painful. Christmas shopping too, pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Kurt Jaspers, g'day mate. Kevin Milner, evening. Yeah. Anthony made it on time. He's got the right daylight savings times. Colin Ray, g'day buddy. Glenn Thomas, what's wrong with 32? Nothing's wrong with 32. It's just fast cooking.
Yep. Borderline.
I'm just scared, that's all. I like a nice consistent 31 and a half.
Yeah. I think it's just a matter of staying with what's tried and tested. I mean, I know people try harder, but you might have success. Yep. The only downside to that, if you're pushing those boundaries, if you happen to get a stinking hot day and you can't cool your incubator down, you can run. Like I've had my incubator with a thermostat died, get up to 37, everything's still hatched. So, yeah, it was pretty
short
hot.
Periods. I think it's all right.
This was like, it was okay one day. Next day, I'm like, why is my incubator at 37? So it was only over a short period, and I just turned it off.
Yeah, so, I think 6 to 12 hours you get away with it. 24 hours plus, I think you're starting to do damage.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll let you carry on with the chat. I'm going to pull this one. So one's already hatched.
Plenty pouring in there. Scotty Andrew, quick question before we start cutting.
Yep.
Does get ready for cut and get your big screen going. Guys got a really nice albino Darwin male, but really like diamonds. How do they cross? What morphs around? Well, you'll get a diamond cross albino Darwin. You'll get some head albinos, mixed blood, which once those heads paired up, you'll get some beautiful albino diamonds, which a couple of people are working on. A guy in Queensland I know has got a clutch cooking at the moment, which should be some nice 50% Darwin diamond albinos. They're the first wild type out, eh?
Yeah, this one self-ejected out of the egg. I'm coming out.
First to show.
Yeah. It's funny we're talking about this. I think a few people were saying how terrible marbles are to get feeding. I'm like, oh, great, what with that clutch I hatched where there was like 5 and 2 wild types, whatever it was in there. And the other night I thought, I really need to start getting some of this stuff feeding. They had their neonatal shed as such, and probably been a week or so. And I thought, I'll just defrost 2 little pinky mice and see how they go. First one ate within seconds. Like literally, I put it in the tub, grabbed it, looked at me, let it go. So I picked it up again. I think I gave it to it 3 times, called up, ate it. Second one, called up, ate it. Third one, fourth one. And next, because obviously my wife has to look after stuff when I'm early. She goes, I'll do a couple. I said, all right, no worries. All 7 ate. First and 10. And,
maybe your wife's better at it than you.
I think so. And Faye in Teresa, she goes, oh, my God, you must be lucky. I said, no, my luck. I said, that'll be the best clutch of the year. The rest will be pricks. I said, it'll be the only one that goes easy. And everything else will be a complete bugger to try to get feeding. So
you get some that struggle. Ray Thomas has the body feeling Daz after back to the gym this week. Finally, you pulled your finger out.
I did. It was just trying to get on top of everything I needed to here and get myself in, I guess, the right mental focus to get back. But
all I hear is excuses.
Yeah, they were excuses, but
you ran out of excuses now. I like it.
Yep, 100%. So hit the gym. Took it easy. Still, was actually surprising. I was talking to Brent before about it. not to just change topics from snake cutting to gym work, but even after having not been able to get to a gym for 18 months or so, when I first went after my surgery and everything, I was so weak and obviously developed strength when you're young for quite a while. To be able to go back to the gym after 18 months and still be able to do, more than triple the weights you were doing when you first started, and obviously nowhere near what I was doing when I left, but it just felt good. So, yeah, a little bit sore, chest, the arms. I kind of did last 2 days, did a bit of an all-over body sort of workout on the bike and on the cross train to get some cardio going. And
beautiful. Back in the game.
Yeah, bit of everything, bit all over, bit of legs. I'm like Monday's arms. So come Monday, the arms will be sore. Come Tuesday, I won't be able to walk because that's leg day.
Giddy up, love it. Matty Trav says his incubator dropped to 20 degrees after blowing a fuse. Replaced fuse, heated it back up. Checked, they all seem good. But I think he got a lot better chance of surviving lower temps than higher temps for longer periods.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think. I mean, 20's getting down there, but I certainly don't think it's going to do it any harm.
No, I think as long as it's short term, I think they can cope with it. I mean, you just got to remember that in the out in the wild, obviously you got the female that can counteract the colder temperatures by shivering thermogenesis to keep those eggs warm at the appropriate temperature. But
a bit of shivering gets it done.
Yeah. So
Charlie Dude, g'day mate. Alan Walker, g'day buddy.
Al, good to see him. So yeah, a couple of little crappy looking eggs, but anyway, they're not too bad. Got a couple of bad eggs coming up. A couple of clutches. I actually had to throw a few eggs into the bin. So, but as you know, that's what happens sometimes.
Absolutely. When Carl says what kind of damages we expected, higher temps with death predominantly. I think it extended time, 24 hours or more, pushing 34, 35. It's not going to be pretty.
No. Obviously, you want to try to avoid it if you can.
Yep.
No, just get rid of that.
Ready to chop.
Yeah, let's. I can wonder if this is going to go like the first clutch I did or the second clutch.
Lots of visuals or lots of nothing?
Yeah, no, my luck, lots of nothing. So I think the first clutch I got a caramel out. There's a couple I'm sitting on the fence with. The very first one was like more wild type looking ones. There's definitely one caramel and the other one looks caramel. It's almost thinking, is it just a polygenic version or what?
Just a bit of variation.
All right, let me a little wild type you want.
Wild type number 2.
Hey.
Did you make the parents of these?
Yep, I did.
Yep. So you know what you got.
Yep.
I always wonder when you got double hits or something, and in your first 2 or 3 you pop a wild types, you're like,
Mate, I even with myself, like even when I did the albino silver pepper pairing the first time I got eggs, I'm like, oh, there's no albinos in this, and you start to scratch your head.
Yeah, what have you done wrong?
I think, did I do something wrong? Like, then obviously it came in the next clutch, but yeah. Well, look, we're on a roll. It's going to be one of these clutches.
3 from 3. You got it on a string, mate.
Yes.
Nice light wild type.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's only going to be a quick one. I was hoping we'd have more to cut. Really hoping there's so much coming. I can just see it kind of being all this massive burst window. It's like suddenly there's 20 clutches to cut.
Just erupted, yes. Kurt Jaspers, I know you both leave them, but have you ever rolled an egg and put them back upright and left it alone, left it to hatch? Well,
rolled an egg. I've dropped an entire clutch across the floor. Does that count?
Oh, man, in early years, we've all messed with them too much and dropped and rolled, and did another wild type does.
Yeah, I'm on.
Look at you go.
Roll. Look at that.
Kicking ass.
Mate, I'm not into that more stuff.
Purist at heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, everyone's messed with eggs when they shouldn't have, and that's a nice light one, though, Does. I quite like that one.
Sitting there looking up like, what you looking at?
Why? What's the problem with wild types, that face says?
Yeah, nothing wrong with wild types.
Yes, Kurt, you can mess with eggs a fair bit and get away with it. I've certainly done bad stuff. I know Daz dropped that whole clutch and still had success with hatching. You can get away with it. You can mildly disturb something and cut the air tube and the thing will never hatch. So the best option is leave them alone. I've had so many people messaging me lately. I'm candling, I'm moving, I've changed this, I've changed the mesh, I've done this. Like, leave the eggs alone.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Simple rule. The less interference, the better the results.
I thought this one's probably a crappy egg, and it is. So you can just have a look.
Bit solid.
Yeah, you can tell by the way it's coloured around. I thought, I
Yeah.
don't think this one's anything. But, you know,
Dry
just got to
it
leave
up
it in
inside.
there. Yeah, it happens. So some of these are unfortunately laid. There we go. So it's just dried up inside.
Yep. Never really got going.
Nope. We'll just cut it open and have a look. And this part, it's just shite happens. I guess you can even see some development there.
They're not all going to make it. That's why reptiles have such big clutches at times, just to keep the lines alive in the wild.
And it was a wild type too, just in case you didn't notice.
Keep the odds right.
On a
heavily
roll.
Stacked.
Yeah.
2 to go.
It's kind of that's when you look at the tub and go, it is what I said it was, wasn't it? Yeah. But yeah.
Who has albino diamond so I can see one? Well, no one that I believe yet. They won't be pure, obviously. They'll be 50% Darwin, 50% diamonds.
There's a few people. Oh, there we go. It's got some better colour. There's a few people working on them, but like anything, it's obviously the idea would be to have a diamond pattern in an albino form.
Albino form. Yep, I know. Luke Lovey in Queensland were hatching them shortly, the 50%ers, but like we thought with the Bredli, we 50% probably wouldn't look that flash because the heads certainly look very wild type, but at 75 or 88%, well, that's nice.
There we go. That's more like the colour we were looking for.
Nice and light.
Yeah. Where's your little head, buddy? It's like in
marble potential, table potential.
Yeah.
See your head.
Find it. Got your head there.
Well, Roberts, g'day, mate.
Good to see you along, Walt. Everyone
See
else.
you.
Good to see you, Walt. Good to chat.
Yep, always around.
Yep. Where's your head, mate? See you there.
Yep. Anthony says these look so tiny. They certainly are. They're
especially when you got fat Shrek fingers handling them.
Yep. I set up 3 clutches last night. One was a stimmy clutch, and you go from sexing carpets to sexing stimmies. It's quite a shock.
I was trying to pop my ants today. I was clutches. I'm like, is that a hemipene? I almost need a double magnifying glass. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah. You get the glasses onto that one. It's tough on the eyes.
Oh, I tell you, even with the good goggles on. So he's got his head buried down there.
Marty Bahaja does join us.
Bahaja, welcome along, mate. Have to come
Reptilia god from the north now. They're gone north.
Yeah. So he's hiding there. Doesn't want to come out.
Get that head. Let's see this pupil, eh?
Yeah, I can see a black pupil by the look of it.
I won't comment on Marty's comment. I'll see if I can fly this thing.
I am. They're over there in the corner. I don't know if you can see them. They're like 6 foot long.
I can't even make comments go on the screen because it's your stream, not mine.
Well, leave him there for a second. We'll have I don't want him to come right out.
A little dig. Darren Boswell late to the party. G'day, Mr. Boswell. No tables yet, mate. It's a wild type fest from Darren so far, and
yeah, I know how to pick him.
One that just popped out that's looking promising of something. It's a morph of some type, whether it's just single or double visual.
It's whitish.
It's the right colour. Charlie Deeb said, how's the stripes? Going does.
We're still waiting for him to shed, actually. They're annoying the crap out of me because I wanted to set them up today, but then you got to make sure instead of having one tub, you've got about 18 tubs to make sure you keep moisture into. So,
yep.
We've got that and obviously the pepper clutch. Here we go.
Oh, bingo. Now, you say the best 2 to last.
Yeah. I actually knew that one. No, I had no idea.
You candled him to check the colours, didn't you? Pre-show.
Yeah, that's his head just there. There we go. That looks like a marble, I'd say, with the darker head.
Darker head, no red pupil. Dark patch on the top, yeah. Looking marble.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Better have two than none.
Absolutely.
The other one is. I'm not sure yet. Trying. Quite pretty.
They fill those eggs up, don't they? The ants. They use every last millimetre of space.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just
like when you cut them out, they never go back in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carpets often leave a bit of room in the egg. The ants seem to be exploding out.
Should we play on this little dude? Or dudette, maybe. Where's his head? He's like buried it down in the bottom of the egg and
doesn't want to play.
Doesn't want to play. Just trying to gently manipulate him around. Or her. Shim.
She, he.
No, that's the wrong direction. That goes to the other pointy bit.
Go to the other pointy end.
Yeah, I want to go to the other pointy end. Okay. He's obviously got it knotted in there.
You got a two-tailed snake, mate.
Mate, his head's buried right in the middle of his coils underneath. I feel like doing a Jay Brewer and just like, come out of here, mate. Get out. There's his head. He's like, I'm not coming out.
It's past bedtime. It's like my daughter every morning trying to get up for school.
Yeah, we had that conversation today. He's like almost there. His head's just hanging.
Just poking. Might poke its head out by itself in a second.
Hoping. It's like
Bit lighter on your head, that one?
Yeah, definitely lighter on the head.
Potential for magic.
Similar but different. I don't know. Where's all the antaresia experts?
Come on, Marty. Marty, the ant god. Tell us what you think, Marty.
Without being
hard to see those pupils, though. We can't really get a good light if there's any red buried deep in that eye.
Yeah, if I can just get it to pop out a little bit more. It's like I'm not moving. Oh no, I'm going to tuck my head back in. Ooh, that's his.
Saw your giant head and ran away.
Can't blame it. Most do. There it is. There we go. He's like, geez, fine, I'll make an appearance.
There we go. Hard to see on this camera angle, mate. I can't pick that. Looks dark pupil, but you're there. What do you think?
Yeah, it looks darkish. It's hard to trying to get it to focus, not on my finger on the snake head.
Yeah, it's pretty good there.
Just see if I get him balance in there.
Possibly just a marble.
Yeah, possibly.
Hard to run down. You're 1 in 16 with, what was it, 7, 8 eggs?
Oh, yeah, not even. Oh, mate's going for a crawl out of the tub over there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. Oh, one dead one, so.
Yeah, six from 1 in 16 is not the easiest to roll out.
That's it. And it was only a clutch of 7 as well, so it wasn't like it was a massive clutch. But
yeah,
the odds. They're still pretty cool, though. I really like them. Marbles. I'll definitely be holding a few back.
Yeah, absolutely. From when they came out I remember not long ago, I think I was actually standing in the car park at Kellyville Pets with you many years ago. I don't know how many years it would have been, 5, 6, 7, when we're talking about marbles at $12,000 a pair.
Yeah.
It's certainly come down. It was one of the craziest crashes of prices of recessive morphs we've seen in the hobby.
Yeah, I reckon it happens, but
things went wild. I guess they're something that breeds at 18 months old quite easily, so it numbers got flowing fairly quickly.
Yeah, it's funny, like it seems to have taken a while for some of the multi-gene mutations to actually start getting around. I thought some of those might have been out a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I suppose
Marble, even Tarbles have probably been around for a little bit, but granite albinos or marble albinos or things like that. But maybe that's just inherent from some of the problems they get with the albinos.
Yep. Flick back to your 3 camera, Daz.
Yeah, I'm just going to.
Josh Brown says, keep up the lives, love it. And Darren does a few live shows online, I've heard.
You got to pay for those.
Some of them. Aidan Dempsey loves his OnlyFans page. He's quite a big OnlyFans lover.
Certainly is.
Adam's Family Den, nice clutch. Yeah, would have been nice for a few more visuals, but you get what you get with multi-gene clutches.
Guess it's what makes it exciting cutting the eggs. So not knowing what you might get when you got multitude of 4 phenotypes, I suppose. not that it's easy to tell the difference between a table and a marble, so I'm starting to realise.
Yes. Yeah, it can be tough to pick like anything in a young age. Yeah.
Not when you've got like a Jag versus a Zeb Jag or something. It's like quite easy to notice the difference there.
Yeah, so, definitely.
That's a pity that one didn't survive, but it's a wild type.
Shame. Oh, there's Crystal. Mrs. Aiden in the house. G'day.
G'day. How you going?
Donna Bennett. Well. Yes, I've got more eggs to come. I think I've got 6 clutches out. The 20th clutch was laid last night. A beautiful little Bredley clutch. Because my Bredleys breed well, Daz?
Apparently it's all to do with the owners, how well they breed.
Me and Daz have been trying to do a little program with some Bredley stuff, and Darren sent me over a couple of his dinosaur Bredley girls to work with.
When he says dinosaurs, he just means they're really big.
They are both huge, but both beautiful. It's just, I think they're about 104 years old, so they're possibly beyond the limits of reproduction, but maybe it's just, I've got a theory, big girls, don't like movement, don't like change of scenery that much. They tend not to want to produce so well after massive changes of their lifestyle.
I think so.
Maybe. Possibly, but slugged out a couple of years in a row for me. The girls, quite embarrassing. There's one more girl. Your other girl is actually looking great, Daz. I meant to tell you, I had a bit of a peek in her tub. She's belly up, looking fat as, but so was the other girl, So I thought I had my money on the big girl that just punched out 4 million slugs. So we'll see how the other one goes.
Did you happen to count the slugs out of curiosity?
I did. I stopped counting at about 29. And the next day there was another 5 or 6, and then Sheree got the rest out midweek cleaning. She said, "Oh, there's slugs coming out of that." I said, "Yeah, it's been coming out of it for days, unfortunately."
Yeah.
That poor girl. She's she's punched clutches of 40 for you before.
39 was her biggest.
Yeah,
39 was her biggest. So yeah,
absolutely.
Prior to that, it was 35, 36, 37 sort of thing, and. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm trying to think how old she is. I got from a mate, and he'd only bred them twice, so they're probably 4.5, 5.5. So they're probably getting up maybe 11, maybe 12. So she's still good to go.
Old.
Yeah, it's not too old.
Absolutely. Yeah. Plenty of life in them. I've seen. I've heard the oldest snake I've bred's 12 years old, but I've heard of stuff breeding up to 20 years of age still.
Yeah, I think you probably find as it gets older, maybe possibly the recovery time in between might take a little bit longer. In terms of, trying to put that condition back on as they age. It's probably we all get old, things things take longer to heal and get better. So
things don't work as good as they should and don't recover as good as they should.
Yeah, because it's also not like you're not using an older male either. So you couldn't say, oh, it's an older male. Maybe he's not firing on all four cylinders. Let's say
young fella, and he got another girl done. So it's always frustrating when you know it's working somewhere but not working somewhere else. But it's just can be timing, can be lots of things. That's snake breeding. It's funny enough, after 10 years you think you know everything, and then you realize you know absolutely nothing, and start back again and question everything you do and try and piece it all together. Gaz Langling says he got it to eat eight. I'm so wrapped. Rubbed some quail on it. Good work, mate. Always good when things take food that have been a pain in the ass.
Yeah, when you're finally getting to take food and it's scented, you're happy that it's feeding, and then the whole process of trying to get it to eat what you want it to eat for its entire life takes over then.
Absolutely.
I've done it to myself this year on a couple of snakes. I've just had so many mice in the freezer. I've got to be pumping them with mice, even though they've been defrosted with rats, and now they just want to eat mice. I'm like, oh, you idiot.
Yep.
Should have mixed up their feeds a little bit more often. But as long as they're eating, that's always a good thing. So better to have them feeding than not at all.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what age do you stop breeding your females, Daz?
Depends on what it is, but I've got a few girls there that I haven't bred with for a number of years, just because I don't need to. So if I'm holding things back or keeping their offspring back, so multiple generation type stuff, often I won't breed the grandmother, so to speak. So I guess at an age, once I reckon they start getting 12, 13, I think they're still capable of breeding. But if I don't need to breed them, then I don't see the point of breeding them. So, like, for example, my Caramel Bradley Jag, she would have to be probably 11 or 12. But I've got from her, so I bred her, then I bred from her and kept those kids. Those kids have both produced a clutch each. And then I've got their kids over here, which shouldn't be too far off breeding for next season. So I didn't really have a use for her in terms of wanting to breed her this season. So I didn't breed her at all, the grandmother, but I bred the other two kids. They were put with a Ghost Zeb and pop clutches. So, I think it depends on what you've got and what it is you want to do with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with breeding an older animal. I mean, if she's had complications, okay, different story. And maybe they'll require maybe a rest year, like if you produce a clutch, give her a year off to just recuperate. A little bit more draining on an older girl than on a younger one. But I think even my big Darwin girl there, I think they're 12 or 13, maybe 13 now, maybe even older.
Obviously, fertility rates come into play. Eventually, they'll tell you maybe that things aren't, so perfect anymore.
Yeah, well, maybe, but one of my head albino Darwin girls didn't go this year, which is unusual. They normally always go. I rested them when I was away last time. I didn't have the time to put the male in because I wasn't actually home. But this year, one laid. She laid 27 eggs. So they're obviously fertile and laying, but I think there's about 3 there that have gone off, I think. But all the rest is still pretty good. So,
going strong.
I make the same pairing every year. Obviously, I've held a few back, but they breed pretty much every. I think they've only missed the one clutch. I think the one season I didn't pair them. Other than that, they've produced every year, and they're big girls too. Like they are huge girls.
Yeah, they're monsters. Adam's family reptile den in the jungle was 4 years old. Popped out a massive clutch, 39 from a jungle. Boom,
jungle. Yeah, I reckon.
Smaller species. That's outstanding work. She must be a big girl, surely.
Yeah, I was going to say it depends because there's some. I've got a massive jungle boy over here. He's huge, and I've seen some monster girls. It just depends on whether they're talking about a little like Palmerston, like our jungle. They are quite small, but some of the ones over the mountains and some of them are quite large. When I say large, they're a good solid 6, sometimes 7 foot. But a big, heavy, girthy snake on some of them, rather than some of the
thick in the body,
4-foot models on the palmies and stuff like that. But I've never. I think the biggest I've had with the jungle was like 27, I think, or something like that. So 39, I've never heard of a clutch that big in the jungle. That's massive.
That's very impressive. Very impressive, Adam. Also, when you guys are looking at the marble or tarbal eyes, what are you looking for that it's a tarbal?
Yeah.
Oh, mate, you answered that. I mean, neither of us are ant pros. We've obviously engaged in some help from some ant experts, but tell us the research.
Yeah, so it's a difference in the eye colour is one. So both those look like they've pretty much got similar sort of eyes, and often light. So I think it's like they're just a lighter eye colour.
Red pupil.
Yeah, reddish pupil, and almost no markings on the head from what I get. And as Brent just said, like it's the first for me. This is the first time I've bred ants for many years, but the first time I've actually produced tarbal or hope to produce tarbals. So what better thing to do when you're doing something that you've not done before is ask other people who have more experience than you do. So I've asked a few people, Darren Boswell, I think I flicked the message to, chatted to Hidaz, Marty, Brett Moy, so a couple of other guys that have had them and seen them and just asked their opinions and what they think and their advice. So it's all good, like don't be shy to ask,
No.
We all got to learn somehow. So
can't be experts in all fields. Faye, the Antaresia Queen, they've plenty out there that have done more than us, and certainly things you've done other people have not done, and you help them with those things. So it's nice to be able to get some help from other experts around.
Definitely. And I think, with anything, chatting to someone, be a little bit respectful, at least not a message like, do you know what this is? Actually say, hi, how you going? And that gets you a lot further too. So I think it's good. There's plenty of nice people in this hobby that do good for it. So you can ask around. Like sometimes not always on a public post. A public post is a good place to ask if you're looking for specific information. But
can you talk tonight, or what? You on the piss earlier, or
mate? Yeah. It's sugar, mate.
Oh wow! Seems like you got something jammed in your mouth.
Oh, it's not. Yeah, it's blur.
Don and Bennett got any babies to show us?
It's probably lack of caffeine. I can't even get coffee now. Just like coffee and caffeine.
Sugar hit. I do have babies, Donna, but I don't have my other camera on, so I won't bother trying to show them just on the phone because it will be a disaster in the making.
Well, what are the other babies? What was it?
I just set up all the clutches last night. Actually, the three that were out were all set up in the individual tubs now. Which, like you say, you've got to do some extra work spraying. So I use this big bad boy here, which is my bulk sprayer. Just the Bunnings thing with a very long extended tube, so I can pump it and spray the whole hatchie rack in one go.
Nice.
Makes it much easier than individual spray bottle pumping all over the room.
Yeah, and I think that's really the only difference between. Like, I normally leave them in incubation tubs purely because it's a more humid environment to get them to have their shed. So, but if you can maintain that moisture in a tub, then you don't need to leave them in the incubator. The only reason I leave them there is because it's it's not in a melamine rack, or with the Vision ones. Obviously, it's the heat and the humidity escapes quite quickly. So anything you put in there dries out pretty fast. So I generally like to get them nice shed. Yeah, well, I find that first shed, if they don't get it off, it's a real bugger of a shed to get off. So
super thick skin. The egg skin's like bloody 4 mil thick, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I had to move mine. That clutch of Bradley eggs, I went to the incubator and went, oh, poo. I'm full, and I lent my spare incubator to my best buddy Daz there, so I had to set up some hatchies.
And
you need the space more than me.
They're all the incubators here is full. I actually had that clutch this morning. I scratched my head thinking I've used up every single ink. I think there was like the big ones I used that I cut the Morelia eggs in. I think that I had like 35 of those tubs, and they're all full. Yeah. And I'm like, what am I going to put these eggs in? So I actually found one of the tubs that I take stuff to the show in, like the yearlings. It's probably a 5-litre tub or something or other. So I've actually got one of those, and literally just put the eggs in and put it in the incubator. I'm like, there's enough humidity in there. So it literally went in. There's one more spot left, and I've got one more. one more clutch, which she's twisted up. So I'm expecting probably. I wouldn't be surprised if they drop tomorrow, to be honest. But yeah, the next day or two anyway. That'll be
it's always
the last clutch. I
a
think.
shuffling game, isn't it? You're waiting for stuff to hatch. You're waiting for the last stuff to lay. It's always that game of chess. What's going to happen first?
Definitely.
Josh Brown, with the amount of females you guys pair up, do you have many suffer dystocia? What's the steps you go through? Have you lost females from it?
Well, do you want to go with that one first, Brent? Or?
Well, sadly, I've seen a few over the years, and I guess the more you breed, the more of these problems you will see. I've seen it in, not to say it's a young girl problem, but I've seen it in younger girls more than older girls. One of the reasons I stopped trying to push females to breed at 18 months was because I had a couple that got dystocia. One died, a couple had surgery, never to breed again. So I'm against now. I've been guilty of it. I have pushed stuff and bred stuff at 18 months old for years and not had problems. But then you have a couple and you think, is that age and maturity a contributing factor, or was it going to happen anyway? So my choice was wait till carpets, we're talking 2.5 years old and minimum 2 kilos before I'll put them into the game.
Definitely.
But yes, there is things, and I'll say this, take it with your grain of salt. Don't try and squeeze eggs out of things. If you need help with things, consult your vet, consult a reptile vet who's experienced in reptiles and has dealt with this problem before. If you take it to the vet and they try and squeeze eggs out of it for you, you do not have an experienced reptile vet. The best practice I found that Robert Johnson taught me was evacuating an egg. If you've got an egg that you can see bulging right at the cloaca, you can get what do they call it, like a draw-up syringe, and evacuate the egg. So you suck all the fluid out of the egg so the egg collapses, pointy nose pliers and pull that out, and then leave the girl alone. That's where they all go wrong. They all think, oh, that's eggs out of the way. We'll shove a couple out now, but leave the girl, give her a day or two, and she may well get the rest out. If she doesn't, then you're probably stuck up the ovary walls, and it may require surgery, cut further up to remove those eggs, which not great for the girl, but you're going to keep the girl alive. But just my biggest point: get help, but do not force. Forcing things, I have seen it done on several girls, and always ends very badly. I did one last year when I gave strict instructions. Do not force. And he forced, and it was very bad. And I was very angry, which doesn't happen very often. But when things go bad and snakes die, that's when I get the shit.
Especially an unnecessary death in that particular circumstance,
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess there's things that come into play. I don't know if you got anything to add, Daz. I think hydration's a factor.
Yeah, I was going to say hydration, definitely. And I agree. I know, look, we often talk about animals that can breed 18 months. I would tend to lean on the side of doing that with the male. But even then, I'm very much the same as Brent. I don't think that feeding them to get them to size to breed is an issue. I think, I've had animals that I've fed all sorts over the years and, really fed hard and got them up to massive sizes early and, they're still alive and still going well. But I think with girls particularly, like 2.5 years, I don't rush anything anymore. In fact, some of the stuff I haven't bred till 3.5, and that's not due to not wanting to breed them sooner. It's just haven't needed to. So just let them plod along at their own pace and breed them when they get to age. So, I don't like to breed them girls early, certainly. I prefer to just give them that extra bit of time, that sexual maturity, or I suppose sexual maturity is not right, just better size and more of mature age is probably better wording for it. I know in ball pythons, they talk about reaching a certain weight before they can breed, because it's a common thing in those guys or girls that they can become egg bound because of the size of the eggs in comparison to their body size. So I find it unusual because you can get a clutch of eggs from a Morelia and you can have a big girl that drops 30 eggs and they're not a massive egg. You can have a big girl that drops 20 eggs and they're half the size again. So there seems to be quite a bit of egg size variation. But yeah, definitely 2.5 years. And someone, which we've told, had taken water bowls out of the enclosures because they were worried about the female laying eggs in the water bowl. And we don't do that. Like if you're concerned that she's going to lay eggs in a water bowl, I don't know why you'll be concerned. I think I've heard it happening once.
Yep.
You know, your female, when she's due to lay, is going to twist herself in knots. Basically, she's going to start twisting and turning. She might be belly up for a while, but then she'll literally start to contract, put herself in her knots, getting ready to start to push those eggs out. When you see her doing that, if you wanted to remove a water bowl out, I'd say fine. But, you know, in over 20 years, I've never had any female of any sort lay eggs in a water bowl. I don't think they're that stupid unless there was like a little bit of water and they were curled up in there and just started laying. I've had them spread all around tubs and everything else, but don't take humidity and moisture out of a tub. If they want to drink, you need to leave it there. Dehydration will certainly cause the egg dystocia far more rapidly.
Yep, absolutely. As we've all done before, like a few light, very fine sprays, not to make water droplets, but a girl that's past 30 days from prelay or close to go time, a little bit of a spray action does them wonders. You know, people put wet paper in there and all sorts of things to try and bump humidity. It certainly helps them get things rolling. So taking away that water bowl, definitely not cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gaz Langley, do I need incubation space? I'm good, thank you, mate. Appreciate the offer. I just needed to pull my finger out and set those 3 clutches up. Now I have 2 more spots with only maybe 1 or 2 more girls to go. So it should be a perfect size setup. I'm set up for 22 clutches a year. Everything works beautifully if I stick to my limitations. I've made it a couple of years with 2 spare hatchy tubs behind me. Absolute perfect planning on my behalf. Fluked it, of course.
I've had a couple of flukes. Well, you'll be able to do more now, mate, because, you know, there's obviously a few people starting to get into maternal incubation. I actually saw... Was it Luke Netheim had actually maternally incubated some chondros? I saw that on Facebook today.
Wow,
cool. That? Yeah. It's from the Australian Herpetological Podcast guys. Yeah, he actually maternally incubated some chondros, and so that's. I mean, you know, most people that normally have a crack at that stuff are normally doing it on stuff that they're, you know, are happy to lose if something goes wrong, as a way of putting it. And then, you know, like Peter Birch, for example, does quite a bit of maternal incubation. But, you know, he's been doing it for a few years now, so he's kind of obviously got that system down pat and what works and what doesn't work, so he's becoming very successful at doing it. So I know for me, I'm probably looking at doing a couple of clutches next year just for my own personal, see how it goes. But yeah, I thought, well, that's pretty cool to do it with the clutch of chondros. That's pretty cool.
Game, yeah. I guess definitely. It's getting the setup right and fine tuning. You know, none of us are brilliant at it because we don't do it enough. You know, we're all experts at taking the eggs and, you know, incubator style. But I guess if you've got the right setup, I remember Manish showing me a video years ago of somewhere in Indonesia of a room full of cardboard boxes full of sphagnum moss with green trees, like dozens of them on eggs. You know, like incubating them in a open area, you know, unbelievable. And babies pouring out of cardboard boxes. It's unbelievable to see. Yeah. But that's just fine tuning. Obviously a high humidity area naturally, and having the right setup, they get cracking very well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just cool, cool to see those things different. So somebody doing something different. Yeah.
Absolutely. Mr. Jeremy, punching above his weight Finlay, has joined us. G'day, buddy.
Cheers. How are you, mate?
How are you, buddy? Gaz, I've had a girl had a uterus explode. Oh, that doesn't sound good. And my whole page just scrolled off.
Yeah, I had a...
eggs went inside her. Yeah, and her belly not due to forcing, but she went egg bound. They popped the uterus. Took surgery, wasn't pretty. Yes, I've had that where one's popped through the ovary duct wall and you've got eggs floating around just inside the body of an animal. Not pretty, no. I've had one die like that and cut it open and had eggs scattered all through the internals of a snake.
That happened to me this season.
Yeah, horrible to watch. Was that like dystocia? Was that egg bound after that happened, or do you think it came beforehand?
Yeah, no, it was part and partial with each other. So she became egg bound. So I had intentions to take her to the vet. Never got that far. She passed away. So I did the same thing as yourself. Cut her open, have a look. And I know a fair few people will be familiar, but for those that don't, she actually had a booby egg. So it's like half a slug, for example, and half a good egg. So they're kind of pointed. And as it was heading down towards the cloaca, for whatever reason, it had kinked and pushed into the sidewall of the oviduct. It then wedged sideways, tore a hole in the oviduct, and obviously caused some injury. And then the rest of the eggs came down and wedged and made a hell of a mess. And unfortunately, she didn't survive. Cut her open, but found the egg wedged in and lots of tissue damage and blood, and it wasn't nice. Pleasant, and certainly, obviously not a pleasant death. I've also had them completely prolapse the oviduct. I had a blonde mac a number of years ago and went to the vets. I was overseas at the time. It was taken to the vets, and she'd actually torn the uterus and right out the oviduct right out. So it had
the cloaca.
It had a complete reproductive system torn out. Just everything just gone. You guys, you can't do anything. I had another one last year that had done the same. I was away a lot, and unfortunately, one of the nice albino Darwin girls had done the same. I came home, I just saw her there caught up on the eggs, thinking, oh, yeah, sweet, no worries. She's on a clutch of eggs. As I was getting on top of things, when I finally got to her, I think a day later or something or other, I'd gone to take her off, and she was there, and it was quite messy. She'd laid bulk of the clutch, and whatever happened with the last one, they'd actually prolapsed and came out and were actually hanging in the oviduct outside the cloaca, and it was all infected.
Horrible.
It was. So she was unfortunately there was no saving her, sadly. But all I could do was put her out of misery. It's not a pleasant thing, but that's just the reality. When you have a large collection, these things happen. You don't see it anywhere near as much if you produce a couple of clutches a year, but when you do a lot, it's nature. Like, I don't know what you can do any different to stop it happening. It's just part.
No, definitely not. It's the game we play. And Crystal says, since waiting for the mature, you're getting less complications. Yes and no. I've had that girl that had problems last year. She's had bred 2 times before, never an issue, and just an issue third time breeding, and she was 4.5 years old. One of those Bredley Darwins from you, Daz. So she'd produced stuff years ago. Had a rest for a year because I wasn't worried about making more. I had what I need. I wasn't concerned about what Daz wanted, so I just threw out my officials.
Oh, like that, is it?
So paired her up again last year, and then had problems and didn't end well. So I don't know. I can't put it all down to breeding stuff at an early age, but I think it helps. It just minimises the risk, of complications, I guess. But I guess complications can come at any time. It's not there's no perfect world for times, weights, ages. So I don't know. It's just what I felt. I felt pushing them at 18 months contributed to it. I felt it wasn't right. It's something I felt that I'd draw a line in the sand and say, look, I'm going to do something better and wait till they're more mature and older and see if that has better effects. And I've got to say the clutches are far better. The stuff I've bred at 2.5 years, much bigger clutches, obviously, because the girls are bigger.
Yep.
And less problems, I'd say, so far, but it's on limited research. Only the 2nd or 3rd year I've not bred anything that young, so jury's still out. But I feel more confident in myself. I'm doing the right thing, not pushing them so young. I just not the right thing. Girls breeding that young, I think, like you say, does boys yes, girls no.
Yep, I think the last time I pushed anything and had a crack at 18 months were silver peppers. And that would have been
pure pepper stuff, or
yep, pure pepper stuff. That would have been probably 5 or 6 years ago. And I had a female at 1.4 kilos at 18 months, and a male at 1.2.
Yep,
nothing. No interest. Just not. They had size condition. That wasn't the problem, but they just hadn't developed that sexual maturity that they needed. And even people that have bought some had said, oh, mate, I'll crack them at 18 months. I've done plenty. I'm like, yeah, good luck. I've done plenty at 18 months as well. I'll tell you now. And to this date, I don't know anyone that has done pure peppers sub 2.5 years or 18 months.
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah.
Not there's a lot of people around breeding them, but yeah, it's like, and I'm happy. I much prefer the same thing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with still pushing your females to get them up to a decent size, but just giving them that extra 12 months to reach a bit better maturity level is a far better result. As you said, Brent, you're going to get a much nicer clutch as well, for sure. So
even let them cycle in that 18 months if you want to let them go off food and go through the motions and cool and everything else. Certainly not a bad thing, but just don't let them lose that body weight and put them under the strain and take all that condition out of them, at such a young age where they're still growing. At 18 months old, they're far from fully grown. It's some species, Murray's one, certainly Bredli. Bredli are 2.5 years old, even's a stretch. They need to be such a more mature and bigger animal to breed.
Yeah, patience is definitely a virtue, I think.
Yeah,
and
patience in the reptile game.
Feed them. Sorry,
no, patience in the reptile world, Daz. What are you talking about?
Not anymore. Old school ways of buying hets and be happy with that are gone. Everyone wants. I want visuals and I want it 4 kilos and ready to breed yesterday.
Yeah, and I want to buy it in March so I can breed it in April.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, quarantine. What's that?
Yeah, Josh Brown got a good question actually. If I could fly this computer tonight, it'd be dangerous.
That one?
Yeah, that's better. Good boy, mate. Now you know how to use a keyboard, eh? It's a risk we take in breeding. I lost my 7-year-old jungle jag girl last week. Sorry to hear it, mate. She dropped 5 slugs at day 14. Yeah, well, that's not uncommon. They'll quite often get rid of slugs earlier, which I found really odd. She seemed great afterwards. I figured she'd just drop them to save energy. And I can't read the rest of your question, Daz, because I ran out of screen.
I don't know how you make it get more.
No, on day 30, she seemed normal. I found her dead on day 31 in the egg lay box. Scariest thing, there's no warning signs. Well, no, mate, that's what you say there. Eggs certainly do come first. Daz and I, and who were we talking to about that before? Not long ago. Someone we were chatting with that, eggs come early. Like if you got slugs, they will come out. I've seen them spit out 10, 15 days after, pre-lay. That's not uncommon for that.
It's like they know they're no good and they just pop them out. So they will get rid of them well prior to egg deposition, that's for sure.
Yep, but finding it dead at 31, I mean, that can be a number of things, but the most common thing, I think, is just organ failure. That it could be a number of problems, or it could have been 0 problems, just the stress involved in it and starting to push and strain to try and move those eggs down the oviduct towards the cloaca. Sometimes it's just organ failure. There's a lot going on there. Certainly, any species can be prone to problems at that point. It's a very stressful time for an animal. You can't read the stress of the animal. They're very good at hiding it. So sometimes, yes, deaths will come that you just stand there shaking your head at. Sadly, that there's not always answers for.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't squeal in pain or anything like that. If the dog injures itself, it's going to whimper and cower and do whatever. A snake can be hurt and in pain and sitting on the hot mat heat spot coiled up, and you have no idea.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
There's one from Ryan.
Yeah, controversial, all right. Rack versus enclosures, say for 10 adults. What do you reckon, Daz?
I don't really see a difference. I think they both work exceptionally well if they're both set up properly. So I've bred in both and bred pretty much everything in both over, most Morelia, Antaresia in both. Really, if we're in a world where dreams could be done and I had lots of money to set up how I would like to set up, I would probably have, 4 or 5 foot wide enclosures, 2 foot deep, 450 high, bit of a branch in there from the climb on, and I would set it up that way. If you don't have the space, obviously you can't do that. So, racks work perfectly fine to do the same job. We've got adults in V70s and Python tubs and all sorts of stuff, and I've had no issues with breeding them in either. So what about yourself, Brent? I think it comes down to your own personal space and what you can fit in, and
Yep. I think everyone starts out in enclosures and then space becomes an issue, so tubs come into play. For many years, I had all my females in enclosures and started with males in racks. So I'd take the males out to visit the females in the enclosures, which works great. But like you say, space becomes an issue. And like we both said, we've both bred stuff for a long time in tubs with great success. Andresia, absolutely. Carpets, even in the boa tubs or vision adult tubs, whatever they call them, python tubs. So
yeah.
There's certainly results-wise, I don't believe there's any issue. I've bred stuff in V70s. I'm sure Daz has as well. Plenty of girls that have dropped stuff that, fills to the brim of a V70 for height-wise.
Yep.
So I prefer them in enclosures, absolutely. I think the whole hobby probably needs to move more to a more environmentally stimulating setup for the animals. Certainly, barren plastic tub with a sheet of paper. There's better ways we can do it over time.
Definitely.
So if you've got the space, enclosure it up for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I had a lot more animals in enclosures before I had to move everything back home. And I think I trashed 10 4x2x2 enclosures because I just didn't have the room at home. I had where am I going to put my animals?
I remember down at your factory. Yeah, the whole wall of enclosures at your factory.
Yeah, and that's it. Like the ideal thing, as Brent said, I would probably move all my females into nice glass-fronted enclosures and deck them out, and I'd probably keep males in some of the racks, because they're going to come out. They're going to go, 4 or 5 months of the year in with the girls, in with the big enclosures, and they're going to be able to stretch around and do whatever they want to and have all that. So, and I think it's nice to be able to walk into a room where you have enclosures, particularly during breeding season, when you can walk over, look through the glass and see if they're mating or if they're not. When you've got to slide out a drawer, and the male stimulating the female, sometimes the movement of that drawer, they see you and they automatically retract and you think, oh, God, I've just disturbed them and he was about to have a crack. Yeah, so.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So,
yeah.
Joshy Brown, on another note, what's your thoughts on Carpondros, GTP by Jungle? I know the Yanks have done it. Go the Yankees too, on a side note. I know there's masses out there that are against it, but more importantly, it would even be legal in New South Wales to pair that up. I don't think it's illegal. I don't think there's any rules on species crossing as such. I know Queensland was a big no-no. South Oz certainly is still a no-no. Legality-wise, no. I guess it's a case of public perception. What do you think, Daz? Like the world hating on some of these cross species things?
I think so. It's kind of funny how things evolve, and I guess, when you've been in the game for a while, you see the evolution. Once upon a time, it was a sin, and the flames would come scolding if you accidentally, because that was always the word, I accidentally bred my, diamond
Darwin
with my this or something else.
Yep, my albino Darwin to my Bredley slipped together accidentally.
Yeah, that's right. And so that kind of started flaming. And then as albino Darwins came out, silver peppers came out, and other things started to come, people become more accepting of subspecies crosses, like Darwin, crossbred lie, etc. like that. So it was a lot different. I think you're just starting maybe to see the point where, obviously over in the States, where they're big on the Carpondros and bat eaters and all these other wonderful things that they've crossed stuff with, there's certainly a following for it. Not quite sure whether Australia as such is quite there yet. I'm not sure. Yep. I have a simple rule, and I've always believed that what you want to do with your animals in your house, that's your business. It doesn't faze me. The only thing that would ever get my goat is when people aren't honest in what they do. So if you want to breed your jag with a chondro and make Carpondros or jag pondros in that instance, go for your life. But if you're selling the wild types in that clutch, be honest with what they are. So there's so much stuff around that you see sold that, this is pure that, and you look at it and go, it's not pure my bum. But just be honest. If someone's interested in buying it, then sell it as what it is. If you're struggling with selling it, then don't bullshit about it. Just be straight. That's my only thing. Just be honest. With whatever you
whatever you're going to breed, you obviously got to have the means to support. And if you can't sell them for a year or two, that's a sign that the market's not ready for that yet. So it's whatever you're going to do experimental, be prepared to deal with the consequences. If you've got clutch of 15 and you own 15 of them forever, that's part of the game. If they're all you see them Carpondros, there's some beautiful ones, but there is some pretty ugly ducklings amongst the crowd. So it's not always a beautiful morph thing that pops out. So,
that's exactly right. And some of those don't reproduce as well. So often, it's not like you can breed them. Often they're sterile. So sometimes you do those crosses and the babies won't reproduce anyway. So some do, some don't. It seems to be a bit hit and miss, especially with the Jack Pondros and stuff. But there's certainly some really nice ones around. I guess the question would have to be, how many of those do you see that aren't nice?
Yep.
Like you see something, go, oh, wow, check that out. That's stunning. Like, how amazing. But how many clutches have they produced of, Carpondros or Jag Pondros or whatever it is they've got? I've seen BHPs crossed with all sorts of stuff. There's actually a couple of those hybrid type pages that are private on Facebook that are around, and you do see some crazy stuff in there. I mean, I don't mind them saying personal, not my thing. I like dealing with the mutations and keeping within the, Morelia with Morelia and so on and so forth. But, I'm certainly not going to ridicule anybody that does it. That's for sure. They do it and they're honest about it. Like Marty Bahaj, he did the water pythons across the albino olives. Good on him. That's what he has to do.
Absolutely.
Just be honest about what it is.
Yep, everyone's got their ideas of what's gonna be nice, what's gonna work. So it's each to their own. I'm actually surprised people have not done more of the recessive morphs into this Carpondro stuff. Into ghost jags and albino stuff into some of the GTP stuff. It's maybe people have got heads out there and things growing up. But just to me, if you're going to do it, I'd be doing something a little bit more genetic than just jag. It's
like an albino granite jag over a chondro that you're doing this season. Just joking. Just joking.
Or a ghost jag, or a belly granite jag, something. I just seem that there's been no recessives mixed into that. They've gone the easy road of jag straight up. Maybe people have made stuff and just not been shown yet. I haven't done it. I've got 2 females. I could have attempted all sorts of things, but not something I'm pursuing. But someone's gonna have a crack at it. Nothing's no stones left unturned these days. So
no, definitely. It's all fun. What's the next one?
Would you say diamonds are like the Bredleys, as you just said, have a lot more growing to do at 2.5, better at 3.5? Yeah, I think any species is better at 2.5 or 3.5. I don't like talking about GTPs. Brian Champion told me when I first got into it, he said, don't even waste your time before 3.5. He said, they're just not ready. They're just not an animal that develops quickly. Don't power feed them. Don't try what you do. He knows what I do with carpet stuff. This was years ago. He said, don't try your 18 months on these things, be sensible. You'll have problems. So I took his advice, grew mine very, very slow. I think any species is better with age, 2.5, 3.5. Bredley's definitely a much bigger bodied animal. Diamonds, I don't know. I've never actually bred diamonds. Well, diamond pure stuff anyway. But I don't know. What do you reckon, Daz? Definitely 2.5 minimum, 3.5?
I think 2.5 is where you start with anything, even your bredli. I think it doesn't hurt to give them a crack. It also cycles them. So it's also a positive, you're giving them that cooling, even if you're not successful in terms of the actual breeding itself, you're actually cycling and preparing that animal ready for the following season. So by cooling it down, introducing a male, doing all that sort of stuff, you're going to give yourself a better opportunity the following season if they don't go. And if they do go, well, there you've had a win. So, to me, there's no negatives in just waiting another year for a little bit more size than that. I think if they can go at 2.5, you pair them, they mate, they lay eggs, mate, fantastic. You've done. And, do the same thing next year. Don't change it. Whatever you did this year, do it next year. Find what works, stick to it, and keep it, the old KISS rule, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
So I think if they don't go 2.5, you can then have a look at what you've done, what you might maybe didn't get cool enough, and talk to other people. Find people that have bred whatever it is you're looking at breeding, and how cool do you get yours? Do you do this? When do you introduce? It could be things like people stop feeding in April when there's another 2 months of hot weather ahead, where the female is still looking and hunting for food to get that extra bit of condition. You stop feeding, that could be enough for that female then not to breed that season. So it might not be anything to do with how you're cooling and doing everything else. So, but yeah, I always have a crack at 2.5, providing the animal's got appropriate size and conditioning on it, and then follow on with the next. Well, every year after, see how you go.
Continue the journey.
Yeah.
Crystal, has anyone ever crossed snows with het albino zebs? Probably been done, I suppose, but it's just going to make some albino zebs and a lot of stuff het exanthic, I suppose. I don't know what the magic pairing would be going forward for too much. Certainly probably been done. Carl Smith, ever done Bredli to Super Zebra? No, mate. Carl, I told you you're going to be the first to do it. It's be an interesting clutch. I think Bredli mixed into Zebra and then pairing up those Zebra, get some more Super Zebras with Bredli blood in them. Be a very cool project.
I think so. I think there's a few people around that have there's some Bredli and some Zebs around.
Yep.
Overseas, but
think, Brad Regan would have to be in that category somewhere. He's been leading that Bredli mixed blood game for a while.
He's certainly got some nice Bredli Jags going around, that's for sure. There's some really freaky stuff happening there. That's nice. I think that's also one of those things with the Super Zeb Bredli. I think it's when the tongue is just not flapping well tonight, I tell you. I think that's probably something where you're really going to see the difference when you're getting into your F2, maybe F3 generation, where you're putting back to that Bredli and you're getting your percentages up, 75%, your 82.5 or 87.5, whatever it is. So I think when you get more of that Bredli influence, I think that's when you start to see more influence in the Super Zeb. I think initially it's going to be a 50-50, whatever the Zeb you're using over your Bredli. So I think it's rebreeding it back to another Bredli after you've made your F1s, grow them up, put it back to the Bredli, get your 75%, grow them up again, get your 87.5%. And so on, where you're introducing, you're getting more of that Bredli appearance in the Super Zeb. That's where that answer would be, in my opinion.
Yep, absolutely. Josh Brown, parenti food for the ugly ones. No, joking. Oh, man, parentis have to eat too.
We're not feeding Brent to the parenti.
And I don't know. I had a conversation with a guy the other day about monitors. That is there any carpet breeders that would be happy to sell hatchy stuff of wild type or mixed blood stuff for food purposes for A, lapids, or B, monitors? And I was like, I don't know. I said, that's kind of a touchy subject. I said, there's not many guys that were happily, to kill stuff off, I suppose. I've never culled anything that's a wild type or anything. I know there's guys who do it. I'm not a fan of it. I
think if you're bringing it into the world, you got to give it every chance to survive. That's my opinion.
Yeah. I've found homes for every single one of them. I've never killed an animal based on its phenotype. So, but saying that, I know there's guys who chuck them in the freezer, which is, to me, not right.
No.
I would rather see them go to be monitor food or a lapid food before they just go in the freezer. But saying that, I said to the guy, why do you need live animals for some things anyway? Like, surely they'd eat other stuff, rather than a live thing. But apparently they believe there's a market there for it, so it's not entirely a joke, Josh. I think there's probably means out there, and that's nature. In the wild, that's certainly what would happen to plenty of them that hatch out there. So
yeah, I mean, you see it over in the US. Often you see guys feeding, leftover ball pythons or that to their king cobras or whatever. Yep. The difference is, and this is a major difference, a lot of that wild type stuff over there. I remember when I went over with Peter Birch and that, and hung out with Brian Barczyk and that for a week. Some of those animals are wholesaled at like $14. So the monetary value is far less over there per animal. So out here, you might be able to, get something out of an egg wild type from someone for $50 a snake and get it feeding and then sell it for, whatever. I don't think someone's going to go, oh, yeah, mate, give me $10 for all these snakes when they can get 4, 5, 6 times the price. So there's that consideration as well. So I don't think it's a viable thing out here, and I doubt it ever would be. If it was dead out of the egg or something like that, and you wanted to go and give it to someone, well, so be it. Or if you lost the clutch we've all made stupid mistakes. I had a clutch of Darwin's hatch a number of years back, had it in a container. At that point in time, I used to have no holes in my containers. It had hatched one day. I picked all the eggs, left them there, couldn't make them the next day, went down the day later, and they were all dead, suffocated. So, lesson learnt from me. Silly mistake. Should have known better. So, in an instance like that, you could say, here's our clutch. Go feed it off.
Yeah, absolutely. We all learn. We all do stupid shit. You just got to learn. That's the key to any disaster. It's a lesson learned, and do something to fix it going forward. Emily Jane, albino. Yeah, absolutely. Albino to GTP has been done in the UK. Well, good work, UK. Often they're ahead of the game in doing crazy stuff. Caleb xanthic in a green animal would technically result in a blue animal. High percentage chondro xanthic should, in theory, be a completely blue animal, which would be incredible.
Well, theoretical and reality are completely two different things. So, the theory of it is that we should produce that, but whether it will or not is another thing. And I'll give an example. Some animals, in albinos, the black is more red. And then you can argue that and go, well, what about a blackhead? It has a blackhead, but an albino blackhead has a whitehead. It doesn't have a red head at all. So it depends on pigmentation, and obviously there's an epidermal and a dermal layer in reptiles, so they have 2 layers of skin and pigmentation. So just because the theory of is X and Y should equal this doesn't always mean it will do. And you'll see that often when you hatch something out and you think it should be this, and it's like, oh, hang on. Why isn't it that? Why? So then when you look back, so you could be right. I'm not saying you're wrong at all. But yeah, often it's not always as a black and white as the theory behind it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
but it would certainly be cool. That's for sure.
And blue GTPs, as we've seen over the years, have been a highlight. Hormonal normally.
Hormonal blues, yeah.
People have paid some insane money in past years for what they believe to be real blue, true blue.
I wonder if I've still got it here. I was going through some old photos looking for some stuff, and a number of years ago, the VHS had Greg Maxwell, who's basically the complete chondro guru god of chondros. And, mate, he did a slide presentation of chondros, and oh my god,
stuff that's been around is scary.
Oh, the colors were just insane. So while we're carrying on going through it, I'll see if I can I think it was this one. I'll see if I can dig out
some pics. Do a screen share of some of the stuff.
Yeah, I can screen share.
I remember an animal back. Who was trying to buy it? The guy from the States that's now gone all natural. What's his name? There was a guy trying to buy an animal. I remember 15, 20 years ago from a guy in Bali or Thailand or somewhere. The bluest GTP I've ever seen. And apparently it stayed that way. It wasn't just a hormonal thing. It was just that colour.
Yeah.
Tommy Crutchfield was trying to buy it from somewhere, and he's got photos of it back 20 years ago. Absolutely mind-blowing animal. But could not get his hands on it.
They're stunning. Like the blue ones, I remember going down to ERS years ago, and some of the ones that Tim Mansforth that owns ERS, or I think it's was it Pet One or something? Anyway, he had some, and he had some hormonal blue chondros, and they were just stunning. They were just gorgeous animals.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Phil Phil Colvin, g'day mate. There's a name from the past, bit late to the party, but I'm here. Welcome.
Nice, mate. Welcome along. I'm trying to find photos. I don't know if it's this one or the other hard drive it was on.
Hope you bought a 6-pack for the after party.
Oh, when you said before about being drunk for the show, I was like,
yeah. We should do an R-rated after hours access only show. That you have to pre-qualify for something.
You know what? We should call it the party show, and we should have questions or something. If you get it wrong, skull. Yes, Crystal Hassan brings up a very good point. Crystal, that's cruel. Never freeze anything. They feel everything. It's a slow, painful death. Absolutely. People have often talked about throwing things in the freezer. It's the most disgusting way to kill an animal. Certainly on many vet guys I've spoken to. Blunt forced trauma to the head is the quickest and least painful death for a reptile, or probably most animals, but reptiles certainly being the size they are much easier to get that job done. Chuck them in the freezer, they will shut down. They're very good at resisting extreme temperatures and slowing down their metabolism and breathing for long periods. You can chuck an animal in a freezer and get it out again 24 hours later, and it is still alive in very poor condition. So please do not freeze your animal. The brain's encased in bone. You need to do what's called pithing. In which case you actually crush the bone that encases the brain, and that is the humane way. So a ball peen hammer or a hammer to the head. I mean, it's definitely not pleasant. Not something you want to do. If you don't want to do it, take it to a vet and have it euthanized that way.
Yep. Get someone to do it for you, or take it and you can be given an injection that is lethal that gets it done completely painless. So please don't freezer. Not cool.
Yeah, definitely not.
Anthony Daniel, while you're still digging in your file of 17,000 photos there, Daz, some crossbreeds could be very interesting. But here in SA, some are forbidden. I think most are forbidden in SA. They're not down with the current technology at all. John, years ago, most breeders were against mixing bloods. It seems to be common now. Is there a difficulty moving mixed species on now, or is it normal? Become very normal due to the mixing of the morphs. The morphs world has taken over, so simple combos of even a sunglow, coastal cross Darwin albino have become very normal. I guess like we've talked about, it's always a case of 100% discretion. Darren's given me his broken tongue now. You need to be honest with what you're selling, and there will be some byproducts of making some crazy mixed morph combos. So you will get some wild types that are 3 or 4 mixed species together, which can be harder to sell, harder to find homes for, and of less value than some of the very expensive triple gene morphs that people are chasing. So certainly mixed stuff has taken over the world. I think there's still a market for wild type pure stuff, but morphs is what many are chasing.
Definitely.
How many animals in your collection, Daz, would be under the 2625 Morelia unknowns category?
What?
What? I know on my paperwork.
I know at one point there was over 300.
Yeah.
At one point. That'd be like getting your books done and updated and make sure everything's spot on, handing into national parks. So often, when it comes up to April, you got to do our returns. So I'll go and do a stock take on everything, write everything down I have, and just make sure it's balanced and everything's okay, because sometimes you lose animals for whatever reason. So often you don't necessarily put that down in the books. You might not because you don't want to, but maybe because you just forgot at the time or haven't done it. You hatch out a clutch of 20 and, 3 die for whatever reason during the course of trying to get them to feed, which happens in larger things, collections. So, I always make sure. But it would be, for one category, it's by far my biggest category.
Yes, definitely. I have 30 species on my list, and most of them are single-digit numbers, 2s, 4s, 6s, 10s. It's not big numbers until you get to mixed blood Morelia, and it's often in the hundreds. So
Yeah,
it's the way of the world these days, certainly. So
It's the way of the world.
Anthony, how many snakes do you guys have each? You can answer that one, Dad.
Brent has not as many as I do.
I have far less than Darren.
God.
Well, you can answer honestly. You're at this moment in time.
Well, actually, I don't know. The last time I did a stock take was April, and that was.
Oh, your wife answered for you. Becky Ness, the correct answer from the wife.
I'm guessing right now, currently, not including any hatchies, I'm probably in the ballpark of high 300s, 350, 400. I think when I did returns in April, I think I was like 460 or 470, something like that, 470 odd.
Yep.
Busiest full time, I've been in excess of 800, 8 to 900. This year's probably, I imagine this year will be the most we've ever had. I reckon I'll go close to 1,000.
Yep, I remember a couple of years ago you had nearly 600 hatchies, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, he's explaining now, Mrs. Whitaker, after the hatchies come out, there may be a record four number scoreboard, which will be a record, I think. You know, we've often talked about personal achievements where we've talked about 50 hatchies, 50 clutches of hatchies that you've been trying to crack, and you know, it's getting the right perfect storm and the right facilities and the right setup to get it done. So
yeah,
your wife reckons you don't have the right setup now because you're still eating breakfast and feeding hatchies at the table.
Yep,
but it's something, certainly a personal achievement. Those big numbers, not something you can do consistently, and that's not every season you bang out insane numbers. So you work within your limitations, do what you got to do.
Absolutely, you do. Like, you know, there's a lot involved. It's never ending. People go, oh, you always seem to be cleaning. I'm like,
yeah.
When you feed, they poop.
Yep.
And when they poop, you need to clean.
Yep. So, you need help if you're going to do big numbers. Certainly, I know Ness helps the best she can, but she's not hands on as much with some of the bigger stuff. So I'm fortunate to have a super wife who does lots of, well, I shouldn't say lots, should be honest and say does all of the cleaning.
So were you trying to pinch a little percentage there if I help sometimes?
I clean a couple, occasionally I'll spill water that badly. I know I'm going to be in trouble for it, so I'll clean it up before she sees it, because I'm forever in trouble for opening tubs too aggressively and making mess on clean paper. So I do clean the occasional tub here and there, or when I'm setting stuff up or moving things around, I'll chip in with a little bit of cleaning. But certainly Shree does 98% of it, which is fantastic, and I could not do it without her. I work many, many, many hours a week on other jobs, other businesses, other things. So it's teamwork. So I guess you've got to work within your limits. I know, Daz, over the years, we've seen many guys come in and want to smash out 10 or 15 clutches even, and gone. Too hard, too much work. Can't handle this. How you get the messages. How the hell do you look after 100 hatchies? And I'm like, 100 hatchies. I do that in my spare time. It's
I've had more. I lucked out. There you go. Messes. She's chatting to
Darren lucked out. Shree is a legend. She is a goddamn legend indeed. So it's you're lucky to have a wife, I guess, that's more tolerant to let you have the reptile setup you have in your house, Darren. So
it's probably, I don't know whether that's the correct wording for it. It's more like
tolerant,
an option at the moment.
Well, it is tolerant, Daz. I got to tell you, my wife a couple of years ago cracked shits and said all reptiles out of the house. So currently we have a couple of green trees, a couple of olives in the house, and Piper has a double head granite albino wild type in a bedroom, because that was the most favorite brown snake she liked out of all the pics she could take out of the hatchery room. So I think there's 5 snakes in total in the house, and that's it. And she wants the olives out now, so we're going downwards on scale in the house reptiles, but everywhere else they continue to flourish for some reason. So you'd be happy you've got a patient wife, because most wives wouldn't put up with your shit. So
definitely. I'm not complaining at all. Hear that? I'm silent.
No complaints. No complaints.
And the fact I think she's more successful at getting the hatchies to feed than I am, because I'm not exactly the most patient of people. And it's like, you little bugger. Yep. She'll happily sit there and get him to feed and send me a photo and go, this one ain't. I'm like, oh, sweet.
Yep. She'll give them more than the 4.5 seconds that you and I give them, and idiot won't eat and move on. So
yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah,
love
terrible.
it. Yeah. Anthony,
I think those pictures are on the other hard drive. I can't find the cord for it at the moment, so I'll have to
dig them up. For another day.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Anthony O'Daniel, my wife won't go near snakes. Well, you're not alone there, mate. Many wives out there not interested in snake action, funny enough. Sleep next to my water pythons as I adore watching them. Yes, I have my 2 green trees in the bedroom, and they have those beautiful radiant heat lamps that pulse, so you get this beautiful red glow. 3 o'clock in the morning, wake up and you can see the pulse red light and green trees flying around, partying on at night time. It's quite nice to watch on.
Yep. Very good.
Josh Brown, I think we're nearly done. That was a long show, hour and a half for us.
I was just trying to go. I'm like, oh, man.
Questions keep coming. We're just about done now. Josh Brown, thanks, Brent and Daz. Off to see your old man tomorrow for a heap of frozen mice. Cool. He's got a gazillion mice at the moment. Mice are going exceptionally well for him. Rats going well too. So
got a gazillion pinkies and fuzzies because I probably need them.
Yeah, mate, it's coming. They're out of control. They're going strong at the moment, I guess probably because summer hasn't really kicked in and disrupted things too much yet. We haven't seen the crazy heat days yet that tend to, yourself at the years at your factory does when temperatures soar and things don't handle it very well. Breeding slows up, things die. It's pretty hard on the rodents.
Freezing cold and stinking hot, even if they survive through it, can really rock their breeding for quite a period of time to come. Absolutely.
Yep, probably rodents worse than snakes for extreme temperature problems.
Yeah. 100%. They don't like it. 25 degrees is ideal. If you can keep rats and mice around that sort of temperature. That's kind of the ideal temperature to keep them going all year round.
Happy days. Happy days.
Rabbits are cold.
Yeah. Yep. They might do us then, Daz. Well, a successful cut. Two visuals came in late.
Yeah, better some visuals than no visuals, but good.
And still no T+.
No, I'm pretty sure there's one in the other clutch that hatched. The first one, it was one in the egg that was a bit lighter. I should get photos when they finally shed the other day. It's like, oh yeah, okay, that's all good. But they do when you don't get odds swinging your way. You question and you think, what? Am I sure that pairing was that one? I'm like, but
was it double head?
Yeah. But I mean, just the T+ in these is a little bit darker, so but it's definitely there. The T+ is in the other clutch, so I mean, just not getting the favourable odds, unfortunately. But anyway.
So besides your albino Darwin by Head Albino Darwin, what's coming up?
Oh, let's have a look at the list.
The list. It's bad when you got a book, Daz. I just write mine on the wall, mate. When you need a A4 sheet to rule it up in columns, you've got a problem.
Yeah, it's only one page. Followed by the other page.
I was going to say, is that for the carpets or for the Antaresia?
I've actually got a pepper xanthe clutch due as well. It was late on the 1st of the 10th. So it hasn't been a very good clutch. I lost a few eggs out of that, but there's still a good few eggs left. So hopefully they're not too far. So hopefully they'll go soon. And then there's kind of you'd think a little bit of a break, but then there's a clutch due was late on the 7th of the 10th. That was a het xanthic jungle jack. Cross Ghost Boy, the black and white xanthic. So wasn't a good clutch.
White line stuff, the really light stuff you've got. Yep.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that wasn't a very good clutch, but there's 7 good eggs, and it looks like 1 might be going off. So 6 eggs, only laid 13. So 6 were slugs, 7 were okay. Then 8th to 10th laid was a Moonglow clutch, 13 eggs there. And a Zebjag clutch on the 9th. So there's a Zebjag over a black and gold jungle. So that'll be nice. High percentage jungles. There should be some crackers in that.
Yep.
Same
some
day.
Nice white looking hatches.
Yeah, those black and gold Zebjags are just stunning. I really love that contrast black and gold stuff. Then there's a Jag clutch, the same, due the same day. Then just Het marbles, T plus children's, Blom Max. That's all over in the next sort of few days. Theoretically,
all happening surely.
Yeah. So I just
might be some double or triple egg cut shows coming up.
Might be. We're looking at it today, looking at the eggs, going, you know what's going to happen? Like all these clutches are just going to all go pop.
Yep.
Heads everywhere. But which is all right. Like it's just a couple of wild type clutches, then we'll just do those. Won't worry about those. We'll get the visually cool stuff to look at to cut. And do that. So, but anyway, yeah. So, what's yours? What's yours? Due next? When's yours?
Another Windora Stimmy, the last of the 16 clutches of disproving pied Stimmies. So that'll be the last effort I need to do of the Windoras. It'll be the end of that era for 4 years.
Yeah.
And I think the Super Zebra Het Albino by Sunglow Zebra Jag is the next carpet clutch after that. Not too far away, probably early to mid next week. We should have some action from there. There's quite a few clutches coming up with some pretty shitty numbers, I've got to say, that clutches that were 10, 12, 14, that a few went off. We're looking at single-digit numbers. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what pops out of the ones that made it. So it's probably a result of not a perfect feeding plan coming into season. It certainly takes its effects of missing, a month of feeding right before season. Can take some pretty bad effects on the season. So I've always smash food into things early on. So we'll see what comes.
Yeah, sounds good. Going to be exciting times ahead. There's certainly some cool stuff still to come. Bit of a small clutch tonight, but it's good to be able to talk. Plenty of people asking questions, so whenever people ask questions, happy to try to answer and help if we can. So
that's good. Cut some eggs, and people got questions. We'll answer all the questions we can in the after period. So if people want to see eggs, they can see eggs, see snakes, and go about their business. People want to ask questions, we'll do what we can to answer them to the best of our ability. I know there's always more and more questions, but we seem to get through them every night. So thanks to everyone who chipped in.
Yeah, it's good. The more questions get asked, it gives us more to talk about and learn as well.
Yep.
Remind us of things that we probably want to forget.
Admit things we don't want to admit live on TV, but hey, that's honesty is what it's all about, and no one's perfect. So
yeah, that's exactly right.
Yes. All
right.
There's a last question for the night, David. Are you going to come over when I freak out with mine? I'll give you some online support, Dave. No doubt about it. It's on site help will be very expensive. There's lots of alcohol you'll be buying me to turn up to fix your problems. You'll probably have to pick me up and drive me home too.
Yeah, pick me up, go past the bottle shop, buy me my alcohol. Let me drink it on the way there so I'm too drunk to help you out, then drop me home.
And I'll give you the very honest answer of your problems, don't you worry.
Yeah.
So, where do people find you, Daz?
Yep, Darren Morelia by Design on Facebook and Instagram. And you, Brent?
KHP Reptiles on Facebook is where most people get me. Most people send me a friend request to Brent Smith, and I accept them when I go through them once every few weeks, and people get me on Messenger much quicker. So yeah, certainly Facebook seems to be the place where most people come. I've I've got www.khpreptiles.com.au. People do message me via email via that page quite often as well for rodents and snakes, which is good. Gets the traffic up on the website as well. But at the same time, I've got to say we've had some issues at work with emails of current. GoDaddy, our provider, is shithouse, and I can say nothing good for their tech support people. So I will say no more than that at this point. So stick to Facebook and Messenger for now.
Too easy. All right, guys. Thanks for everyone for dropping in and hanging out and saying hello and asking questions. And I'm sure we'll be back in maybe a couple of days with hopefully some other stuff to cut some eggs. So, night, guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.
See you guys.